Downtown Fargo, where culture, creativity, and community collide. You've heard the headlines. Now hear what's really happening. Bringing the best of Broadway direct to you. The stories, the people, and the places that make downtown the heartbeat of our city. This is Rocky's Downtown Hour with Rocky Schneider.
Happy Friday, everybody. This is Rocky Schneider with Rocky's Downtown Hour. We have a big day planned downtown with the World Cup watch parties happening. We have two of them going on at 2 o'clock today. If you want to be inside, we have the Old Broadway is doing a watch party, and we'll have some folks from here at Old Broadway, sports side. And then also at Broadway Square, if you want to sit outside, it's streaming on the big screen at Broadway Square, which, you know, you never really know when you try something new. We haven't done streaming events at Broadway Square before, but we had this idea, let's try it. We have a screen, we have an area. It's a good gathering area. It's where the community comes out. You see people every day, kids, all types. And last Friday, I think it was the busiest day I've ever seen at Broadway Square. We had the FIFA watch party. Of course, USA was playing. I think there was about 700 people in lawn chairs gathered around this giant screen at Broadway Square. You know, all types, soccer fans worldwide, you know, very diverse audience. Everyone, I was so impressed because we have concerts there and people sit 6 feet apart with their chairs and they don't want to sit too close to anybody else. But you can tell these are soccer fans, so they're used to showing right up at the field and making perfect lines. And so they were all in perfect rows, so they packed it in. But man, when the goals were scored, I think it was a 3-1 victory, the whole downtown erupted, and it was so fun to see and just see the energy there. And so hopefully we can recreate that today. It is 2 o'clock, which is a little bit different than a nighttime event, but I'm hoping it creates a fun atmosphere. And, you know, I think all the bars will have, you know, it on and watching. It just brings a ton of people downtown and just bring the community together. That's why soccer is great, because all you need is a ball. It's one of those easy entry sports because one ball and, you know, 10 people can play or more, I guess, if you really wanted to switch around. And so you don't need a lot to play soccer, and everyone can do it. And all income levels, all types, all countries, and it's kind of a great equalizer. And that's why the World Cup is looked upon as sort of like an idealism in a world, right? It's, if you're going to fight about something, you know, fight on the field and see who wins. And then when you're done, you all celebrate and just have a good time. But yeah, so that was super fun. We had a Mason Jennings concert on Sunday, a free concert, and there was a couple hundred people at that. Mason, I saw him and his family walking around downtown the next day and taking pictures. And so it's fun to see a singer actually come to town and not just get back on a plane and leave right after. And so that's always fun to see. And who knows where those pictures end up. It's always good for our tourism. But looking at our traffic, which I mean by visitor data, not actual car traffic, but our visitor data so far this summer, we're up about 8% in downtown Fargo. It's not a huge snapshot yet, but over the first couple weeks in June, we continue to see increase in visitors, and that's all times of day. And so I think it's due to a lot of things, right? Obviously, summer is a busier time, but I know one of the big catalyst moments was the new police chief, and he's just been a great leader and giving people confidence again. And officers from, you know, the street to the top have a sort of new lease on life, little new strategies. You'll see police going around. We did have some news. I think that was at the alcohol compliance meeting. We're trying to figure out what to do after 2 a.m. because a lot of the news that ends up happening is post 2 a.m. And honestly, downtown shuts down kind of after 2 a.m., but doesn't mean people are forced to go home. And so trying to figure out after the bars close, what do we do to get people to, if you're going to have an after party, go to your house and have an after party. Go somewhere where you're supposed to be, because there's no bouncers. There's very limited city resources after 2 a.m. We can't continue to ask people to work past 2 a.m., you know. And so it's one of those things I think we're going to have a challenge to figure out. But closing time is not unusual to Fargo. It's every city has a closing time, and it's an issue. Just ask Semisonic, right? We've got closing time, our Minneapolis band. And so we need to figure that out. But the daytime stuff is going really well in downtown Fargo. I heard retail sales are up at a lot of places, and traffic is up. And so we're having fun, and we're going to continue that through the summer. Of course, now that the election's over with, too, I think that kind of takes some of the, I'd say spotlight, right? I mean, elections are good because you have to look at where we differ. That's how you decide who's going to move forward. That's part of the, you know, democratic process. But after that, it's about then finding where we agree, because that's how you get stuff done. And so that'll be good. And we'll have Commissioner Michelle Turnberg on our next next segment here after our break. And we're excited to talk to her as she was in the election, coming back as a commissioner still. And we'll see, okay, when you have 5 people on a commission, it's about getting to 3 votes. That's not as easy as it sounds, counting to 1, 2, 3 sometimes. It's not always 2 sides either. So when you have 3 perspectives on an issue, it's really tough to get to 3 votes. And so that's the challenge of our elected leaders. And there's a couple big things happening in Fargo still. On Monday, we're going to have a convention center vote. It's also the sort of lame duck last meeting for Mayor Mahoney and Commissioner Kolpak and Commissioner Pepcorn. So there'll probably be some ceremonial, goodbyes and farewells, thank yous, all those things. But they do have some big decisions to make before we switch to the new commission. So we're excited to see what that means. I'm really excited just because, as much as I'm a nerd and actually like elections and tracking things, it's fun to not have elections for a while because we can focus on solving problems instead of talking about them. And I appreciate that more. But I think it's one of those things, I think we're all better after elections than we are during elections. But that's part of the process. And downtown, we're about to go into our very, very busy season. We have seen a couple events that have already been sellouts and packed houses and things. So I think people want to enjoy summer, want to get together, want to be part of that community. We're still rebounding from COVID, where I think we all got used to not seeing each other, and then we got a little lonely, and now we want to see each other again. So trying to figure out how to do that and how to make those memories. That's what we do at the Downtown Community Partnership, is try to have that visitor experience so that people make memories and then try to recreate those memories. If it's a first date, anniversary, birthday party, you have visitors come to town. If you're trying to recruit new employees, we know that's the Chamber of Commerce tells us, and all their businesses tell us that's where they bring people to show off the area. I think there's been a lot of stuff through the election too, especially, but some people online it always seems like it's about downtown versus somebody else. And I always try to tell people downtown's everybody's neighborhood. I call it the front door, and I've been made fun of that before, but it is. It's where if you first come here, it's celebrities come here, visitors come here, they end up downtown first. It's the most visited place in the city. It's where they're making their opinion of us. It's where if you decide to move here or become employed here, it's probably where you go to make your decision. So it's important that we have a successful downtown, and it's important for everybody. And I think we're doing a good job. Talking to a lot of other downtowns, they have all the same challenges. It's interesting. In my role, I talk to a lot of people with my role and every other downtown, big and small. The same top 5 challenges are the same for everybody, but for much varying degrees. We had a reporter in town yesterday, or 2 days ago on Wednesday, from Duluth, which is not very far away, straight east of here. Tough to drive to, but it is straight east. And they are having all sorts of problems, and their storefronts are having a tough time. I think they're, much more significant homelessness and drug problems than we have. And so they came to town to ask us, why are we doing so well? And it's such a good perspective to have about looking at our own and reminding ourselves that we're doing a lot of things right. We're all so critical of ourselves and each other that we like to point out where the problems are, where we can do better, and that's important too. But it's also a good time every once in a while to stop and say, what are we doing well, and congratulate ourselves for that, pat ourselves on the back, because Fargo is a pretty good city, and we all live here for a reason. If we didn't love it, we should live somewhere else. But elections, you don't win by saying, what's the best thing happening. You win by pointing out what you want to do differently in general, especially when you're a new candidate. And so it's a strange process, but it's ours, and we own it. But now going forward, we get to have a great summer with a new commission, a new direction for the city. We have one new park board member too that we've had on the show before, and so we get to work with them, and a couple returning ones. I always think it's good to have a mix of returning and new, but we'll see where the city of Fargo ends up. They have a number of key staff turning over too, which we don't always get to know about or talk about. When commissioners turn over or mayors turn over, it becomes headline news, but the key staff sometimes make up just as a big a gap and hole in the city's process and customer service. And so we will continue to work on that with the city, but we're excited about all the events we have. Our 50th annual street fair coming up in July, the markets, I think 14th year, starting up in, I think July 6th is the first one. Could be wrong on that, something like that. And we're just excited to see all the people come out and all of our plans in place. But first of all, we get to figure out what this new commission is doing. We're going to have 3 new members on a 5-person commission. But when we come back, we're going to have one of the returning members, Commissioner Michelle Turnberg. Welcome back to Rocky's Downtown Hour. In studio with me is Commissioner Michelle Turnberg. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Hey, Rocky. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we were just talking about dogs because we're getting a puppy next weekend.
So exciting.
I don't think there's anything more like unanimously loved than puppies.
Puppy breath.
Right, puppy breath.
Love it. Those little sharp razor teeth.
Yeah, I love when they like gnaw on you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe I can come over and babysit. Right? I know, but it's so
like, don't bark.
fun.
It's a really cute bark. You know? Yeah.
Well, that sounded more like a cat, but
okay.
Awesome.
Well, just hit you with the obvious question. There was an election, and
yes.
Now you're back as city commissioner.
Yep.
What's your as you looking back now that you've had a little bit of time? What'd you learn? Was it worth it? Do you recommend to people running? Why is it important? All those questions roll into one.
You know, it's so important to be engaged in your local city government. And that might not sound exciting and sexy, but if you want your city to improve, to keep the vibrancy, to feel safe, all those things, it's so important to get involved. So looking back, what would I do differently? Probably not a whole lot. We gave it our all. I mean, we were putting in 12-hour days every day and door knocking and having get-togethers and meet and greets and listening sessions, you name it. So we did a great job. We had wonderful volunteers. I think I lost my voice a couple times in the process, but I'm happy with it. I was a little disappointed in the turnout, but I think that's part of the problem of having it in June.
Yep.
Right? It would be nice to see the city election move to November because I think we just typically get more people to go to the polls in November. So that's something to think about. But yeah, we have a lot of work to do. So I still have 2 years of my commission term left, and Monday will be a busy day. And I've been busy all week with meeting with different people, and I'm still, focused on my platform of public safety, focusing on core city services and our budget. So a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and I'll just say, while Fargo gets a ton of attention this election season, I think it's way better. I mean, it showed how many people care about our city, where maybe this is too strong to say, but you look at West Fargo and they had an unchallenged mayor. I had a lunch with a friend who's a county commissioner yesterday, and I kind of made fun of him because they had no contested elections.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can spin that to say, like, well, we're doing such a good job that nobody wanted to run against us. And I'm like, I think you're missing something there.
I don't know I'd go with that.
Yeah. And so it's like, I love that Fargo had so many candidates because that shows that people want to be involved.
Yep.
And
absolutely. And you have a variety of different viewpoints and priorities to pick from. So I'm excited. We should make some progress.
Yeah. Okay. So I think one of the things I loved just seeing it from you, and I thought it was well done, and you got a ton of attention. You and Mayor-elect Josh Boschee went out and met, talked about the future, realizing there's only 5 of you. You got to figure out how to work together after running against each other. And it's kind of blown up, went viral in a good way.
Yeah.
On Facebook.
I was shocked at how much attention it got. I know John Strand very well, and I would call him my BFF on the commission. We've gotten to be good friends and have good talks. And even though we're polar opposites, typically when it comes to politics, when you look at what the role of the city is, we're pretty much on the same page. And I think pretty much everyone is. The role of the city is not to solve all of our social problems. That's just not what we do. And so we need to focus on those basics and do them very well and make sure that we have police protection. We need to hire more police officers. Yep. We need to have fire protection. You need to make sure the water is coming out of your faucet. Toilets are flushing, roads are cleared and safe, and snow is removed in the winter. Those are the basics, utilities that we really need to do well. So I think when we focus on that, there's really not a lot to argue about.
Yeah, I mean, I think most people would realize it if they thought about it, but I mean, you guys vote unanimously probably 90% of the time
together. A lot of time, yeah, we do.
But that's not where the attention goes.
No, of course not, because that's not drama.
And so I don't know how well you knew Josh, Mayor-elect Boschee,
no,
at all.
Not at all. So I truly had never heard of him. He's not in my district. And so not, one of my legislators. And so I wasn't aware of him. And my goal of that was just to get to know him. Yeah. We're going to be working together for 2, possibly 4 years. And I learned his hometown is in Minot. He's got 2 brothers. His parents still live there. went to NDSU for veterinary school. And so I just wanted to get to know him as a person and, make sure he felt comfortable coming to me or asking me questions, or if there's, things I can do to help. There are times we'll go to Bismarck, we might go to Washington, D.C., and I'm all on board to work together. And so I just wanted to make sure he knew that there was no, bad blood or hard feelings,
Right.
and we're a team, and let's move forward and make the city better.
It's so refreshing because obviously it's probably the biggest complaint at the national level sometimes is that you
Yes.
never see that anymore.
Yes.
I feel like you used to. I don't know if we
Yep.
call
I
it
know
the good
it
old
is
days
frustrating.
or whatever it is. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's you. The focus is always on the division and not
Mm-hmm.
where you get together. But you've probably learned in the 2 years, while there's a lot of 3-2 votes or 4-1 votes, it's like sometimes it rotates on who you actually vote with, and you
Yes.
can surprise yourself sometimes.
It does.
You know?
Like, what?
Yeah.
We're on the same team. But I believe Commissioner Strand and I have several items that we've, like when you think about it, let's dig in. We're both, very tuned into civil rights and not taking away people's freedoms and not restricting business. And so there's some issues that have come up that's very important that needs to be taken into account.
And you're both fans of downtown, so I appreciate
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Josh has represented downtown, so I've worked with him on a number of things, and you've been a passionate supporter of downtown as well, and see you at our events and things, which I think is great. But I think it's also one of those things, I know Josh had talked about it as a district, representative, he still had to go to Bismarck and look at the whole state. And I think that's similar for a commission where you are elected by the whole city, but you realize that different areas of town have different needs, and we're not divided. Different areas of town matter to other areas of town too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, what's important to downtown, you need that heart of the city. And I'm meeting with some business owners this afternoon, plan to do that more and more. I've made some very good friends who are business owners, just going in when I first started, introducing myself into their shops or restaurants. And we've, become good friends, and I like to stop in, see how things are going, if they've had troubles, any sort of unlawful things happening in their store, that type of thing, and staying on top of that. But it'll be good. I'm going to meet with some big business owners, and what can we do to help and bring downtown back to the vibrancy? It seems like, pre-COVID, pre-riots, it was at the peak, and it was just like, oh, think of what more we can do and how much more awesome this can be. And hopefully now we can fill those empty, I hate seeing the for lease signs down there, and I think that will change and get those filled up again so people have more and more options to go to if they're downtown, because it's, much like the mall, you can take in many different things in a very small area, and that's the same with downtown too.
Yeah, all sorts of small businesses selling their wares.
And I love supporting small business. I do miss Sandbros. I wish that was still there. That was such a fun store.
It's so fun to have a downtown that's lasted that long, to have a successful business that, if we had chain stores and those sort of things that last forever in a way, it's like, is that what we want too? But no, you want mom and pop stores that do sometimes have a lifespan.
Yeah, and there still are a lot of stores that have really, really cool items and unique items. I love going to see Cindy at O'Day Cachet, Teddy at Centralia, the old Magnolia soap. She's got so many cool items. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so you can spend some money pretty quick.
I always tell people that's where I get my shaving cream stuff.
Yes.
But it lasts forever, and I'm like, this is a horrible business plan. Like,
I know, I don't have to come back.
But it's,
I don't know.
it's
Or
great
I
stuff.
get air fresheners, and it's all her homemade stuff. And so I'm like, oh, I think I need to pick one up for my daughter and my son.
Just
And then-
follow the bubbles. No, but I tell everybody about you that I love that when we have a problem downtown, you're solutions oriented, because I've worked with a lot of commissioners. I've worked with the city for 21 years now, and on different topics. And you see those that want to talk about the problem, and you never get to like, okay, what's next? Like, you're willing to put forward solutions, and it's not always what everybody else wants or never, but it's like you're putting forward a solution, and that's someone's got to say something first, and then somebody else says, well, what about this? And it's like, okay, where can we compromise and work together and get to an end result? Because identifying problems is not the only thing you have to do as a leader.
Right. And even this week, I've had discussions with Cole Jerick at Fort Knox and Ose at Las Palmas, and both have great ideas and things that they'd like to do, and would even bring more vibrancy downtown and offer so many different types of events. So I think that's really exciting. And I'm checking in with the city how we can get some of those things going and get some traction, help these businesses to they want to go the extra mile, and let's take away the roadblocks so they can do it.
Well, it sounds perfect. When we come back, we're going to ask Michelle what her priorities are for the next 2 years and what she hopes she can accomplish. Welcome back to Rocky's Downtown Hour. I have Commissioner Michelle Turnberg in studio. Michelle, so you got at least 2 years left on the city commission.
Yes.
What does that look like to you? What do you want to get done before you decide if you're running for re-election or not?
I still, I'm just so happy with our new police chief. I think he's absolutely incredible. And we have meetings coming up and to see what we can do. We're working on the budget right now. I think he needs like 25 officers.
He does, yes.
So we need to build that in so it's not going to happen overnight, but so we can plan for that and get back up to where we need to be at that par level. So that is a big one, to make sure we're using the public safety sales tax the way it was intended. That kind of got out of hand when that was passed, and it seemed to not really do what all the firefighters had hoped it would do. So maybe we look at that, see how that is. I want to focus on core city services. We just cannot be the party planner, all these other extra boards and committees and sponsoring things. And it's, debt comes by death from a million paper cuts. And so all of those little expenditures add up, and we need to take a deep look at that. Of course, there's still public health, some bigger issues that are coming up there. And really just attacking that debt. People want to see it go down. Maybe we can even reduce a mill. Maybe we can make some change. But people also need to remember that it's Fargo Public Schools, which is a way bigger chunk of your property taxes than the city. So, we can do our share and reduce, but you're not going to see a whole lot of reduction until the schools and parks do the same.
I think it'll be nice. I like Mayor Mahoney a lot, but when you're there for that long, the processes kind of don't become as transparent because they already know it all. So they don't have to talk about it as much because there's not that public learning process. I think with 3 new members on there, when you go through the budget process, it's just naturally going to be more education for everybody.
For sure. And I think, it was just, you could call it institutional knowledge.
Right.
Like, this is how we've been doing it and this seems to work. And then you're kind of out of the loop. Like, things happen and I'm like, who approved this? Or why wasn't I informed in this? And I think another big asset will be Chad Peterson, because he spent 12 years on the county commission, and he brings a wealth of knowledge as well, and he's really good with numbers. And so he can help bring that knowledge and what he did in the county and bring that to the city, and I think we can really get a hold of the budget.
Chad was on last week, if anybody wants to look back at the episode last week. Chad's a great guy. North Sider like me, so
yeah, you'd stick together, right?
That's how it is. It's weird. I moved to the north side, and when you're talking to people, and if you mention you're on the north side because they are, all of a sudden you have this weird bond.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it feels good, but also like there's probably some negatives to that too.
What,
it's
like
I'm
what?
not any different because I moved a couple blocks.
And I think he's in his childhood home.
Oh,
Didn't
he might. I think he moved back.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
That's cool. I don't know. So what liaison assignments do you have now? And did you talk to the new mayor about how that gets all switched up? Because I imagine there's a lot of appointments he has to do.
I did. And I actually talked, Chad and I met prior to that, and I wanted to hear more how, in comparison, the county was doing things compared to the city. And he was shocked that we were just kind of handed, this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do, where in the county, they sat together and discussed and had a discussion, open discussion. Of course, that would be open to the public, but I think that's important. I'm passionate for public safety. I would like that. I think it would probably behoove me to be in communications, just with my background. I might be able to add some perspective to that. I'm happy to go where I'm needed. There's actually many, many more smaller boards and different committees that we're on, whether it be MetroCog or special assessments. I'd like to get rid of those too. So, there's just so much work to do.
Yeah, and I think, it doesn't mean a commissioner can't be involved in the other ones. I think that was always an interesting discussion to watch from a public standpoint, is when somebody be like, well, that's my topic. I should have been at that meeting. And I'm always kind of like, well, you're all 5 equals.
And we
in a
represent every resident. And I encourage people, you can reach out to any of the 5 commissioners. So feel free to reach out to anyone. If it has to do with someone else's portfolio, I can bring them into the conversation just so they're aware, but that doesn't mean that I can't work on the issue.
Yeah, because you probably see it, and I hear it from people that I work with, is they write to the commissioners that either they agree with or they know, and I'm like, well, write to all of them. Like, that's how you make a relationship.
Yeah.
But also, if you're only hearing from people that agree with you, it doesn't help anybody either.
Or give you another perspective, too. Absolutely.
There's always 2 sides to a story. As
There
much as we
are.
think we're right, we know we're wrong sometimes. We just never know when we're wrong.
What?
Right. Yeah. Ask my wife. But yeah, I'm wrong sometimes. But yeah, so I think liaison are important, and they're all, I won't say they're all equally important, but it'd be interesting to see where everybody sort of shakes out, because that's where you see stuff really get done. I'm excited to see what staff can do with a new commission that maybe isn't all running for mayor. It's not probably the healthiest time. It's probably a scary time to be a staff person.
Well, it didn't feel like a whole lot got done, because I think people were afraid to do votes on real big topics because they didn't want to lose a base that would support, this area or that area. And so it just kind of like lame duck, but extended.
Right. Okay, so before we lose time on you, there is a convention center debate happening right now that's been going on for a year and a half, and I think we're all ready to be done and start building. And because convention center is interesting, it was a vote of the people, which people forget to. So we have a lodging tax that's generally paid by people attending conventions or coming to town. So it's a cool funding method. It's not property tax dollars. And the whole goal of a convention center, I think anyways, is not for that building to be like the most amazing, profitable, successful building. It's to bring people to Fargo so they spend money.
It's an economic engine.
Yeah.
So even if the convention center broke even every year, I think that would be wonderful. That would be great. We'll probably have a few years in the beginning where it might not function as we hope, but growing pains, and it eventually will. But yeah, the goal is not to make millions off the convention center. The goal is to have those big events, bring people from around the region, around the state, bring their spending dollars, buy things from our shops, our restaurants, and that's helping to pay for our police, our fire, our infrastructure. So that's huge. So it's really important that we get this done.
Yeah, I know. I mean, our street fair time is when we have our street fair, which is our 50th annual this year, coming up on July 16th.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I've been here for 3, so I don't, I didn't screw it up in 3 years.
It's amazing that it's been 50 years.
Yeah, I know, it's
wow.
Crazy. But I think we time that with the wrestling tournament. Happens to be at that time every year. That brings 11,000 people to town or something. And those wrestlers, they like to eat. If you didn't know that about wrestlers, so they come down to the street fair. But I mean, we see the economic engine of that. I think all the businesses see all these visitors come in, and so it's a real thing to have a convention or an event.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people. Sometimes we look at it and think of it as like the Fargo Dome, where you have a concert at 7 p.m. So you have like a big rush of people all at one time, and convention centers aren't really the start and stop times.
And I think people get concerned that, if it's downtown, how is that going to look for parking? Well, we're not going to have Luke Combs or Taylor Swift at the convention center. The Fargo Dome is still where we have concerts. And so this is going to be people flying in, people driving in, parking their cars, staying at hotels. And if it's downtown, they'll be walking, to their meetings during the day. During breaks, they'll be walking to shops and restaurants. At night, they'll be walking, doing the same. Or if it was at Brewhalla, the same thing. They would be staying in the hotel and then walking to the shops, or maybe even utilizing downtown as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think of the conferences I've been at. I don't rent cars when I go to conferences.
No.
I want to go to the conference center, or Uber there, taxi, and
I've
walk
always fly in, you shuttle or an Uber, and you get there and unload your stuff in your room and head on out.
So I'm glad you're talking about it that way, because the education, I think, for people is going to be helpful. Because I see some comments online where like, well, it should be closer to the airport. And I'm like, do you want people just to come to a conference and then leave? Like, you want them to come into your city.
What would they do on their off time, And even in Grand Forks, when we've had conferences at the Alaris Center, there's really nothing close. So then you have to carpool and maybe go to Harry's or go somewhere else in town, or go to their downtown.
Or you drive back to Fargo for the night even.
Yeah.
Because it's that close.
It's
or if
true.
it's in downtown Grand Forks or downtown Fargo, you're more likely to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And while that may be a little less convenient for the convention, it's much better for the city it's in.
Yes, because they're spending money, and that's what it's all about.
So what's the next big topic after Convention Center with the new commission? What do you think they're going to tackle? What are you going to tackle first?
So Monday should be the voting on the final site for the convention center. I would be shocked if it wasn't, because this group of people has sat through 18 months of meetings and knows all the background, or it would be starting over. I don't even know if that would void the vote. So this needs to happen Monday. Other things the budget will be presented soon. We'll have budget workshops coming up where we basically spend the whole day, and departments come in sporadically through the day, one after the other, and they present their budget. We look at it, what could be cut, what do we need, wants versus needs type of thing. Do we, is this necessary, that type of thing. So it's going to be a really busy start to the new commissioners, because it'll be like drinking out of a fire hose, because it's a lot to learning how all the departments work, learning names, learning, what people do. So we'll be very busy.
And of course, then we lead into the legislative session, not too far away. And so the city planning is always important on that, because Fargo's so big, and I've had a lot of legislative experience. And it's really important to get Fargo legislators on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
So they're working to represent the city as a whole, because you always have one or two that go a different direction, and it kind of messes it up for everybody.
We need to, go as a team and
try to figure that out.
And hopefully get support from the West.
Yes.
I think that plays a really big role in it, because we sometimes get that imperial cast.
Yep.
And getting that support from out West is vital to get things done.
Yeah. I think it's kind of neat. Josh coming from the legislature, Nikki Gullickson coming from the school board, and Chad coming from the county. In theory, we should have those good branches out to 3 other key partners in forms of government that Fargo doesn't always do a great job of making friends with other government entities. And so this will be a good way to kind of branch out and say, we're all one. We're all representing the same people. How can we get stuff done?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm sure Josh will be going out meeting, neighboring mayors. And I've been up to Grand Forks and other cities, and the League of Cities is very helpful to meet other people from around the state of North Dakota that are in government, and it just helps making those connections. And sometimes you might need help from Lisbon, or you might need input from, Mandan. And just as Duluth is coming here and asking us, how are you dealing with the problems that we're dealing with?
Okay, so if people in the last couple seconds here, if people want to stay in touch with you, what's the best way to do that? Yes,
you can absolutely. All of our contact information should be on the website. You can feel free to call me. Texting is usually better, just because I'm in so many meetings that it's sometimes hard to pick up the phone, or email me. All of that is available. My email is mturnberg@fargond.gov.
All right, Michelle, thank you, and happy to see you. And I'll see you on Monday night at the commission meeting, and I'll see you downtown this summer.
That's right. All right. Thank you, Rocky.
All right, and we'll talk more about downtown when we come back. Welcome back to Rocky's Downtown Hour. We're joined in studio with Penny from Herbs and Spices Downtown. Penny, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So tell us about Herbs and Spices, for those that haven't heard about it.
For those who haven't heard about it, it is a small herbal apothecary in downtown on Robert Street, where I sell bulk herbs, teas, tinctures, things health and wellness related.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on the show. As we start up summer, so we appreciate you moving downtown. And summers are different downtown. We have a lot of events and activities, and people want to come and be there as part of the community. What are you looking forward to this summer?
Just getting to know more people. Just having people come through the doors and going out and meeting people and being a part of the community. Every other Saturday, I help with feeding the homeless with Blaine Bates and Savvy Cleaning, and we go down and help them out. And it's just a great opportunity to be a part of more.
Very cool. And you have an event coming up in July that's called Christmas in July?
Yes. So
what's that look like?
Christmas in July. So it's July 18th. And we're going to have a lot of things going on. So right now I am looking for people to participate in a couple of competitions. So I have a chips and salsa competition. So you make your own salsa and bring it in. And then I'd have a bread and spread. So you make your own spread, that goes on bread. So you bring bread, you bring this bread that you've made, and then I have some judges, and community will come and do some taste testing as well. Costs $25 to be a part of that. $20 gets split between two nonprofits, which is Blaine Bates and Sacred Passage. So Blaine Bates is a nonprofit that helps individuals 18 and older dealing with substance abuse and mental health issues get back on their feet and guide them in the right direction for assistance. And then Sacred Passage is a end-of-life doula nonprofit. So we go out and help people through the death and dying process. We are not medical by all means, but we help. A lot of pieces are missing within that process, and we're help there to fill the gaps.
So how do people find more about your event if they want to participate or come to it?
They can go out to my Facebook page, Instagram, TikTok. It's all over the place. Facebook is Herbs and Spices. Instagram is Spices and Herbs because someone else already had that. And then TikTok is Herbs and Spices.
And so this is happening on Saturday, so that's a busy Saturday downtown.
Yes.
Probably the busiest Saturday downtown, I like to think. It's our street fair. It's our 50th anniversary, so we'll have tens of thousands of people there that Saturday. We're going all over, so make sure you head off Broadway and check out the side streets and over to Roberts. It's kind of right between a couple parking garages, so it's pretty easy to get there. And
you shouldn't miss us because I'm going to have Santa Claus outside and duck pond so kids can draw duckies and choose some prizes. And I have some giveaways going on, discounts. So there's going to be a lot of things going on down there.
Okay, so maybe give people a little update on an apothecary if they haven't been to that type of store before. What type of person would walk in as a new customer? What are they looking at?
A lot of my new customers are coming in and saying, I'm dealing with this. I'm tired of being on medications. What can help? A lot of people come in and done their own research, which I like, because that means they're really interested in how herbs and tinctures and wellness things actually will work within your body and what's good for what's ailing them. So if you're looking for an alternative or something different to try, or just looking for something good to drink that's healthy, come on in. I can help answer your questions, and if we need to have an appointment, we can set one up.
Yeah, I just let everybody know. I think it's a really cool store. You walk in and you have all the glass jars, and it looks very like an old-fashioned pharmacy almost look, where you have these big glass jars full of the stuff, and I've gotten mushrooms there and cocoa and tea and all sorts of stuff like that. So it's a wide variety, but you're also doing these events too, and so we want to make sure people can find your Christmas in July event on your Facebook page and plan to come downtown that weekend for sure, because it's going to be a lot of fun activities down there and a lot of new businesses right around you too that kind of highlight our So-and-Lo's is one of my favorite places to go for breakfast or lunch. And so there's lots of places right around you that you can get a bite to eat.
Pick up a coffee. I will have some tea sampling out, so I'll make some summer teas and have some iced tea out for people to try and things like that. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on down there.
So on Robert Street, what's the address on Robert Street for those?
26 Robert Street. I'm located in the Gardner building where Paradox used to be.
So, Paradox, I think Paradox just turned like 33 years old or something, like 34.
33 or 34.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're located, they bought the old Village Inn.
Mexican Village
there on Main, and I guess they just expanded too.
Yeah, they're doing great over there, so
Yeah.
it's fun. But I love the old spot you're in. I think it's a great new life that you've given it, and so it's a really neat building at the Gardner building.
It is. It's pretty interesting. I just put a note on the door, so when you come to the shop, come through the black door that's street facing. I'm going to start locking the inside door because there's too many doors to keep track of.
Yeah.
So when you come down to the shop, come through the street door on the east side of the building.
Well, thank you, and we're looking forward to a great summer. I want to let everybody know about an event we have going on today, because in our last minute here, with the FIFA World Cup is happening, and there's a couple watch parties happening downtown. I know Side Street has it on. I know Old Broadway has a party with some WDAY and Flag folks that will be at that, and we have a big outdoor streaming event at Broadway Square, too. Last Friday, we saw about 700 people come to it. To watch the World Cup, and so we're looking forward to that. And it's at 2 o'clock today, which, looking out the windows here at the studio, it looks like it's going to be amazing outside. The blue sky is coming out, and so it's coming out just in time to come and grab a chair and head to Broadway Square.
Yeah.
anyways, go USA, I guess we'll say, as
We'll see how far we get. Hopefully we'll go all the way.
going all the way. All right, Penny, thank you for joining me, and everybody have a great weekend, and go out and smile at somebody.